Well, I'm Lauren Artress, and we're here with Dawn Matheny, our executive director, and we have special music today by Rob Hughes Hodges, and he'll tell us about that as we're entering our meditation today. So just delighted to see everyone here. It's great. If you're not in the United States, why not put next to your name where you are from? And so that would be helpful just to get us a sense of this truly World Labyrinth Day. There are many events throughout the world. Thank you, Joan. Saskatchewan, wonderful. But we've had a lot of activity. Yeah, Lauren, good to see you from Hawaii. We're still getting mixed up sometimes, Lauren. Lauren and Lauren. That's great. Well, here we are, World Labyrinth Day, May 4th, 2024. Just let that sink into our bones for a minute. 2024. It's really quite something. And World Labyrinth Day is a day of connection. It's a day of celebration. It's a way of gathering people around the world, all who love labyrinths, and some people who may not even know what a labyrinth is, but will by the end of today as well. So we have to also say that we all feel, and I think it's okay to speak for everybody on this, we all feel kind of an uneasiness of what's happening in the world. We all kind of feel like, oh, where are things going? What's unfolding here? Which is always a great question. What's unfolding here? And so in reflecting at this time, it's really important as we turn toward one another on Labyrinth Day, which really is one of the major themes this morning, at least this morning where I am in California, turning toward one another. How do we do that? Especially when we're uneasy, especially when there's this feeling of, wow, what's going to happen? What's going to unfold here? And so I've been kind of thinking and reflecting on that theme because we don't want to sugarcoat where we are in the world. We don't want to sugarcoat, oh, this is a great day and everything's wonderful in the world, because we know it's not. But also, we don't want to go to the dark side of all of that. What's going on? This is a terrible time in the world, because it's not. And so our job is to hold the tension of those two things. And that's not an easy task, but the labyrinth can help us a lot. The labyrinth can really help us a lot, that we can find in the center, we can hold both the suffering in the world as well as the joy and celebration and creativity of the human race. So holding that balance, being there. So if we're not going to sugarcoat things, we also know that there's a lot of pain and suffering in the world. I guess I could say right now, I mean, I think that's so true with all that's happening in the world around Gaza and Israel and all that's going on. I came across a wonderful quote the other day. It's okay to be heartbroken. It's okay to be heartbroken about two groups of people with different views at the same time. So that's really articulates holding that tension. It's okay to be heartbroken about what's happening in the world. And by doing that, then we're not sugarcoating it. It's okay to be heartbroken about two groups of people with different views at the same time. And so it's that kind of tension. And I came across a lovely book by Susan Cain, and it's called Bittersweet. Bittersweet. And I think that is a great name for the times that we live in now. Bittersweet. And so that sort of captures holding both, that it is bittersweet times that we're in. And one of the things that, as we turn toward one another, recognizing our own suffering, recognizing the strife that's going on in the world, one of the themes of the book, which is so compatible with our labyrinth work, is that if we're carrying some kind of pain, to turn it into a creative offering. And in the book, Susan Cain tells the story of Leonard Cohen. Leonard Cohen, his dad died at nine years old, when he was 9. And what he did was he wrote a poem, I imagine a brief one at 9 years old. Who knows? He was a very creative human being. And he took this poem and he took his father's best bow tie and he cut it open and somehow tucked this poem into the bow tie and took the bow tie to the backyard and buried it in the ground. A creative offering that brings acceptance, that brings acknowledgement, a creative offering. And so with that creative offering, with the suffering comes longing and yearning. And I think that's one of our questions for this morning with our Labyrinth meditation, is what do we long for? Worldwide Labyrinth Day is to walk together one as one, turning toward one another for world peace, for world peace. And acknowledging this bittersweet time helps us turn toward one another instead of away from one another. If we have fear among us, that fear separates. But acknowledgement of this bittersweet time of suffering and joy, suffering and creativity, that helps us turn toward one another. There's a wonderful story that some of us know already, but Susan Cain in her book talks about it thoroughly, and that is about the celloist from Sarajevo. You know that story? It's quite amazing. I reread it. Here, Sarajevo, this beautiful medieval town, torn apart, bombed, cathedrals destroyed, libraries, concert halls, all a rubble of bricks. And one day, 22 people were standing in line waiting for bread. And a bomb hit them and killed 22 people. And so Zehran, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name right, Zedran Samilovac, was a concert celloist in the symphony there. And he, in deep mourning for these 22 people who died, then and understand that there were snipers all around the city, that people were afraid to cross the streets and had to dash about like a rabbit across an empty field for safety. And he dressed himself in concert formal tuxedo, and he went out with his cello and sat among the rubble in that market square and played. And we're going to turn this over to Rob and mentioning about the piece. He played a certain piece in G minor 22 days in a row. Not only that, other people from the symphony came forward with violins, violas, and other cellos, and they came forward and played in different parts of the city. And what's unusual, as far as I understand it, and I read more deeply, is it so that none of the snipers killed any of the musicians? None of the snipers killed any of the musicians. They could have. But you see, acknowledging this pain in the world brings us together. It doesn't separate us. Fear separates us. Suffering together, acknowledging it, acknowledging the poignancy of it, acknowledging that something else is coming through as well. That moment, those kinds of moments are what we need. And I hope this day brings this into a focus, that we're turning toward one another as we walk the labyrinth and walking as one at one for world peace today. What more joyous thing could we be doing together? So in light of that, I wanted to bring these questions into our labyrinth meditation today. What is your longing? What do you yearn for? Where are you in this moment around pain and suffering? Are you able to hone your compassion for one another? I think it's important in Bittersweet, Susan acknowledges that if we feel superior to somebody, we cannot be compassionate. If we feel superior to others, then we can't in any way embrace this connection of suffering and longing and yearning for a world full of peace instead of war. For people who are alone and in agony instead of connected to communities that help support them during their tough times. So those kinds of reflections. And we are so fortunate today to have Rob Hodges with us with his cello. So Rob, I'm going to turn this over to you. You're going to tell us what music, and have your finger meditation handheld labyrinths available. And often our tradition is we hold them up and show them to other people. Let's do that as well. Yeah, show folks what. It's always fun, isn't it? Really quite amazing. Yes, lovely. All right. And I'm assuming that you're really kind of old hands at this, warming your labyrinths, letting yourself really sink into the presence, your presence with your labyrinth, taking in the music, allowing yourself to be present with your thoughts, with your reflections, with your prayers, with your hopes, with your longings. We'll have, Rob, we're probably 15, maybe to 18 minutes of music, so you'll be knowing that. Maybe after your labyrinth walk, you begin again, or maybe, I see a lot of larger labyrinths here. Maybe you want to take a moment and use the music for reflection, and maybe perhaps jot some thoughts and notes or turn it into prayer, however that will be. And then we'll be coming back for our reflection session with this. So allow yourself to breathe. Perhaps your feet on the floor. Whatever way works for you. I'm assuming by all this wonderful times we spent Fridays together, a lot of us, that we are comfortable with our meditations. You may want to light a candle. So Rob, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you. So the music that this cellist played is from an Italian composer, an 18th century composer, Albinoni, and it's his Adagio in G minor, which was originally composed for organ, but has been since arranged for many different instruments. And I'll be referencing that melody in the improvisation that I do during the walk today, as well as a couple of old early American tunes, one from the Sacred Harp, My Life Flows On in Endless Song, How Can I Keep From Singing? And I'm Just a Poor Wayfaring Stranger is another old early American tune that I'll be referencing. And then we'll listen to, and I'll play along with the Scottish singer, Karine Polwart, that is singing the path that winds before us is not for us to know. One step and then another is the only way we have to go. And it's a beautiful reflection on just our call to keep moving, to keep walking, to keep going forward, and to turn toward one another as we do, as we're talking about today. So blessings on your path.
The path that winds before us is not for us to know. One step and then another is the only place we have to go. The path that winds before us is not for us to see. One breath and then another is all we need. Don't worry, don't hurry, receive and take its time to grow. Don't worry, don't hurry, prepare the earth and soul. The path that winds before us is not for us to know. One step and then another is the only place we have to go. The path that winds before us is not for us to see. One breath and then another is all we need. Don't worry, don't hurry, sit here and rest your mind. Don't worry, don't hurry, be still and find your Don't worry, don't hurry, receive and take its time to grow. Don't worry, don't hurry, prepare the earth and soul. The path that winds before us is not for us to know. One step and then another is the only place we have to go. The path that winds before us is not for us to see. One breath and then another is all we need.
Don't rush. Let the feelings and the thoughts and reflections hover. So as we begin to come back into our Zoom room, I guess it's fair to say, call it. Allow yourself any moment you need to capture a reflection, a feeling. I want to thank you for being here today on World Labyrinth Day and to take the time out to allow yourself to reflect on where we are in our world and in our lives. And we've talked quite a bit about the whole sense of bittersweet. This is a bittersweet time, and how important it is, as we acknowledge that we can turn toward one another. So I've used Susan Cain's book, and here's one brief paragraph from her that I think really pulls this all together for us today. She says, most of all, bittersweetness shows us how to respond to pain by acknowledging it and attempting to turn it into art, the way the musicians do, or healing, or innovation, or anything else that nourishes the soul. If we don't transform our sorrows and longings, we can end up inflicting them on others via abuse, domination, neglect. But if we realize that all humans know, or will know, loss and suffering, we can turn toward each other. So, turn toward each other on this Labyrinth Day. Thank you.